The third method to perhaps stop the clock is oxidation inside your cells. For example, let's say I have a car engine, a car. Where does aging take place in a car? Well, if you think about it, aging takes place in the car, in the engine. But why? Why does aging take place in the engine? Because that's where you get wear and tear, that's where you get air buildup, and that's where you get oxidation. Oxidation is burning of gasoline, leaves deposits, gum, junk inside your car, and that's why your car gets old and your car will eventually die. You run your car for about 100,000 miles, and your car is a piece of junk by that point, and what fails is the engine. Now, what is the engine of a cell? The engine of a cell is the mitochondria. Bingo! We now know where most of the aging takes place in the cell. The mitochondria. The mitochondria is the engine of a cell. It's the power plant of a cell. So one day, not today, but one day, we may be able to create the fountain of youth. A mixture of not one, but several therapies. 1, telomerase, which stops the biological clock. 2, caloric restriction to slow down the oxidation process. And 4, to regulate the oxidation process with gene therapy. Okay? So these are all possibilities. Now, there's also a warning here. In Greek mythology, there's the myth of Aurora. Aurora is the goddess of the dawn. She lives forever. Gods are immortal. But one day she fell in love with a human, Tithonus. So, because she fell in love with a mortal, mortals are, of course, mortal, she went to Zeus to ask a favor. She said, "Can you make my lover immortal?" And Zeus says, "Okay, you've been a good goddess. I will make your boyfriend immortal." Well, she got her wish, but she made a mistake. She made a huge mistake. She asked for immortality for her boyfriend. She got it, but she forgot to ask for eternal youth. Therefore, every year he got older, more decrepit, aged, weaker and weaker and weaker, but he never could die. He lived forever in a decrepit, aging, falling apart body, but could never die. Now, what's the lesson here? The lesson here is we become immortal. We don't want society to fall apart. Think of it, a bunch of aging people that are crumbling, falling apart, full of old ideas, obsolete ideas. You don't want that. So what's the solution there? Well, I don't know. But if I had my wish, I would try to make sure that if you find the secret of immortality, you stop aging at around maybe 30. That's right, stop aging. Stop the clock at around 30. Why 30? Because if you stop the clock too early, you get a bunch of spoiled brats. People who had no understanding of money, no understanding of responsibility, play, 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 play. If you freeze everybody at the age of, let's say, 10. But if you freeze everybody at the age of 60, society never innovates, never moves forward, never grows. You want people who are mature, can make leadership decisions, wise decisions, but also are vigorous enough to carry them through. So I think living to age of 30 would be a good idea. Mm. And last, is there a fountain of youth? Okay. Well, if you take a look at the Bible is based on many stories, many of them taken from other books, other religious books, among them the tales, let's see, what is the name of the tale? There's the tale of Gilgamesh, that's right. There's a book of Gilgamesh with ancient tales from ancient Mesopotamia, some of them going back even before the Bible. Gilgamesh is a warrior. He goes from city to city, has many famous exploits, but he's looking for something. He goes from place to place, always looking for something. He even meets somebody who witnessed the flood of Noah. And of course, many of these stories predate the Bible. But what was Gilgamesh looking for? He was looking for the Fountain of Youth. So the Fountain of Youth is one of the oldest tales in human history. Now, if you look at the Bible very carefully, you realize that Adam and Eve lived in Eden, which was a paradise, but Eve took the apple and gave it to Adam, disobeying God, and therefore God banished Adam and Eve from the Garden of Eden, creating all the ills of today. Now, some people think, well, what is the apple? The apple that tempted Adam to disobey God, because God said, don't eat that apple. Do not eat that apple. Well, many people think the apple was like sin, sex, debauchery. That was the apple. Nope, that was not the apple. When you read the Bible very carefully, word for word, you realize that the apple was the apple of knowledge. But knowledge of what? Well, knowledge of immortality. Because what God was afraid of is that man would become God, that man would become immortal. And therefore, God said in the Bible, he says, got to be careful because we don't want humans to become like us. In other words, immortal. So this goes back all the way to the dawn of history. The fact that we've looked for the Fountain of Youth. Now with modern science, we have clues, but no reproducible result. The only reproducible result we have is that you eat 30% less, you live 30% longer. But that's about it. Everything else you read about is either as an experiment or it's fake.
Is it possible to remake Abraham Lincoln that was born before digital?
Oh yeah, in principle, you'd be able to bring back historical figures, but you have to have data. Now, remember that throughout most of human history, most of us had two lines in a book: your birth date in a church and your death date when you died, also in a book. That's it. Just two lines. All your ancestors, think about that, all your ancestors going back centuries, all they left was just two lines in a book. Okay? From that information, we cannot create a digital copy of you. Even for somebody like Abraham Lincoln, we have photographs, we have speeches, but that's about it. However, today, everybody has a digital fingerprint. Even if you don't want to have a digital fingerprint, the very fact that you have a credit card, the very fact that you're talking on the internet, means that you have a digital fingerprint, much bigger than the fingerprint of all your ancestors going back thousands and thousands of years. They left almost nothing in terms of a fingerprint.
Thank you very much, Professor K.
Well, it's been my pleasure.
Thank you.